Yeah, welcome to Sewwithtia, and in today's tutorial I'm going to be teaching you how to make a short with elastic. Now this is the second part of a two-in-one video, and without further ado, let's just get right into drafting the pattern. Now the first thing you are going to do is to get started. I'm going to be drafting on this pattern paper, and I'm going to be marking out 3 inches, okay, from the top of my pattern paper. Now these 3 inches I'm going to be that I marked, I'm going to be rolling it. I'm going to be creating an horizontal line, as you can see, and this is going to be my origin line. Now remember that this particular short is going to be having an elastic. That was why we needed a space. So now from that origin line, you are going to be imputing your short length. Now this is totally dependent on what you want, but I need for my I'm going to be working with 16 inches, and to that 16 inches I'm going to be adding 2 extra inches for my hemming, that is for turning over. So I'm just going to label that as my hemline, and I'm drafting the front first. Okay, now after doing that, the next thing I'm going to impute is my hip length. Now my hip length is 8.5, after which I'll be imputing my crotch length, that is my crotch depth. Now if you don't know how to take your crotch depth, please just look up. I'll be posting how you can do that on the screen, because it's really essential for this particular pattern. So that is my hip, and the other line is going to be my crouch line. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, and the origin is going to be where I have my waistline. Now the next thing we're going to do is to divide our hip round measurement. Divide your hip round measurement by 4. Okay, in my case I'm working with 40 inches, okay, as my hip round. So my hip round divided by 4 is going to be 10 inches, and to that 10 inches I'm going to be adding a 0.5 inches for ease. So I'm going to mark that point on the hip line, on the crouch line, and I will also mark that same point on the waistline. Don't forget that this is a short with elastic, so it's just a basic pattern. So I'm going to connect those points together, and this is going to give me a straight line, as you can see. Now the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to divide 1/4 of my hip, that is my hip divided by 4, which is 10. I'll be dividing it by 4. Okay, this is going to give me my crouch extension. So here I have about 2.25, and that is going to be my crouch extension. The next thing I'm going to do from that point now for that crouch extension is to divide this straight line I have. I'll be dividing it into 2. Okay, I'm going to be dividing this straight line I have, as you can see. I'm going to divide it into 2 equal half. So the midpoint of this line is where I'm going to connect to that crouch extension. I hope you understand what I'm doing. So I'm just going with my pattern master to create that curve that's stop at the midline of this straight line. So you can see what my crotch is looking like for the front, right? Now, the next thing I'm going to do from this point, okay, because I'm going to be going up by 2 inches, and that 2 inches is going to be for my elastic. I'm making use of a 1-inch elastic, so I'm just going to use 2 inches. I'm going to keep 2 inches for my elastic casing. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do, this short is not going to be having a dart, but we're going to be having an imaginary dart for us to be able to shape in the lower part. So you can see from that straight line, I just came in by my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 4 inches in my case, and I just connected that point to create a straight line, even though I did not mark the line. Now from that midpoint of the darts, I'm going to be imputing my thigh measurement. My thigh measurement in this case is 24 inches. Now 24 inches divided by 4, that is going to be 6 inches. So I'll be taking 6 inches from both sides of the dart. From that midpoint, you can see the way I took that 6 inches. So that is going to make my short balance on my body properly. And after doing that, I'll just connect that point together. So you can see that my short has a bit of a slant on that particular part, and that is how it's supposed to be. Now, after doing that, then the other part, you can see that is the end. For the other part, that it contains the total part of my short. So I'm going to go ahead to add zero point 0.5 inches, okay, on that crouch region, so that I will not be sewing into my main measurement when I'm done sewing. Then the side of this short is going to be straight, as you can see. All my measurement and everything is intact. I remember I added zero point 0.5 inches already to my hip measurement. That will be my sewing allowance. So this is going to be my front pattern, and I'm going to be making use of this to cut my back pattern. So all you need to do is to place this on another pattern paper and ensure that you have extra 2 inches on the upper part, okay? And on the crotch side, you have some extra inches. So I'm just going to go ahead to repeat what I did in front on the back, aside the crouch measurement. So you can see my hip measurement is same, my crouch depth, my crouch length is same, okay? So I just went ahead to place this front pattern on the back pattern so you can see. So from this point now, what we're going to do is for the crouch extension of the back, we're going to be dividing by 3 instead of by 4. Remember for the front pattern, we divided by 4, but for the back pattern, we are dividing by 3. So that is going to be my hip measurement divided by 3. Whatever you have, that is going to be your extension for your crouch measurements. So I just went ahead to mark what I have, and just like what we did in front. So I also went up by 2 inches, which is going to be for my elastic. Okay, I went up by 2 inches. That's the same as the front. And for the back pattern, it is going to be longer at the back because of the way our butt is. It's going to be longer than the front by 1 inches. So you are going to look at the way I'm going to go up by 1 inches, and I'm just going to connect this using a slant line to the end where I have my waist round measurements. I hope you understand what I did at this point. If you don't, you can always go back to rewatch and to get it right. So you can see that I raised my back pattern by 1 inch. This is going to allow the butt sit well, and it's not going to pull the short whenever you sit. Okay, so after doing that, I'm just going to go ahead to add 1 inch. Remember the front I added 0 0.5 inch, but for this back pattern, I'm going to be adding 1 inch. After doing that, I went ahead to divide the length into two so that I'm going to know where my crotch curve is going to stop, just like the way we did in front. And after doing that, I went on to mark that crouch extension, the curve, to the 1 inch I had marked earlier on the back pattern. So we're almost done here. After doing that, I went ahead using my that point. I went ahead to indicate that point, okay, on the crotch line, and I'm just going to draw. You can draw a straight line or just put the that midpoint so that you're going to know how to add your nail measurement, okay, or where you want your shot to stop. So I just went ahead to repeat the same thing I did in front, okay. So 6 stitches on both sides, and after doing that, I just went ahead to connect with my ruler, just like we did in the front pattern. So basically, what is quite different in the back and the front pattern is majorly the crouch extension one, and the raise we had at the center back, okay? The 1 inch raise we had at the center back. So that's just the difference between the front and the back pattern. Every other thing remains the same. So this is all we have for the back pattern, and this is really easy. I hope you are going to be trying this. So I went ahead to cut out my back pattern, as you can see. I have my front pattern labeled. We're going to be cutting both side on fold. So I'm going to be having two pieces for each pattern. So I went ahead to cut using this fabric, as you can see. And this is what I have for the front and for the back. So this is what I have. I'm just going to go ahead to cut that edge, the straight part. I went ahead to cut it, so I'm going to have two pieces. And I went ahead to sew the crotch now. I'm going to be joining the crotch for the front together. This is what I have after joining this. I did this off camera, as you can see. And after joining the crotch together, you can see I left about 0.5 inch towards the end. The next thing I'm going to do is to do the same for the back. You can see the back also. I left about 0.5 inch. Then I'm going to layer the back, okay, right side facing the upper part, and I'll put the right side of the front facing the right side of the back. So we have the wrong side facing us. Now I'm going to go to that point I left, that is 0.5. That's where I'll be stitching from. And I'm going to make sure I align both edges together. I'll sew that side, sew the other edge, and then I'm going to go ahead to the side. Remember, I left 0.5 inches as my ease allowance. So I'm going to be using that to join them together. So this is what it looked like after joining together. Don't worry, it seems the front is a bit short. That is how it's going to look like because the back pattern is always bigger than the front. So I'm going to go ahead to hem the lower part using my hemming allowance. Then I'm going to create a casing of 1 inch for my elastic. The elastic I'm using, as you can see, is 1 inch. I'm going to be getting a casing of about 1 inch, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. So I went ahead to create the casing, as you can see. I went ahead to join the side. You are going to be giving this a good press. Then I'm going to go ahead to use my safety pin, as you can see, to insert this elastic. The elastic I used here, okay, the hip measurement I was working with was the hip measurement I was working with here was 40 inches. So the elastic I used here was about 25 inches. Okay, so this is what it looks like at the end of the day. Like I said, this is a two-in-one tutorial, and this is the second part. So at the end of the day, this is what the shirts look like. It has this color, okay, and this is what the shorts look like. If you would like to try this, do let me know and let me see the end results. Thank you for watching.